Let's start with a truth most people can't accept. You're not losing because of the market, the economy, or bad luck. You're losing because of your mindset. Every day, millions of people wake up chasing money. They scroll through get-rich-quick videos. They jump into trades without plans. They save without purpose. They invest without conviction. And they wonder why life feels like running in sand. You see, beating 95% of people financially isn't about being smarter. It's about being mentally structured. Most people operate with emotional chaos. Their relationship with money is reactive. They feel rich when the market rises and feel worthless when it falls. They make decisions from fear, greed, or hope, and those three emotions are the fastest ways to lose everything you've built. In the next 3 months, you could separate yourself from almost everyone around you. Not because you found a secret formula, but because you stop behaving like the majority. The first step is psychological awareness. Money mirrors who you are. If you're undisciplined, money will expose it. If you're impatient, money will punish it. But if you're consistent, rational, and detached, money becomes your ally. Most people are emotional traders of life. They buy confidence at highs and sell discipline at lows. Your task is to reverse that pattern. Second, focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Pick one goal, one system, one method, and commit to it with obsession. The average person wastes energy switching between plans, always chasing the next quick win. But the top 5T understand that wealth compounds through consistency, not excitement. You don't need 10 strategies. You need one that you execute without hesitation. Third, build discipline through repetition. Discipline isn't a personality trait. It's a practice. It's choosing to follow your plan, even when emotion screams louder than logic. The reason people fail isn't that they can't plan. It's that they can't follow their own plan for more than a week. The market doesn't reward intensity. It rewards consistency. And finally, detach from the outcome. The need to win creates tension. Tension blinds judgment. Judgment leads to mistakes. But when you detach, when you trade, save, invest, and build from a state of calm conviction, you stop chasing results and start creating them. The next 3 months can transform your financial life, but only if you transform your psychology first. Stop trying to predict. Stop trying to force. Start mastering yourself. Because the truth is, success isn't rare because it's complicated. It's rare because it's psychologically expensive. If you can learn to think and act independently from the emotional crowd, if you can focus when others panic, if you can commit to a process without needing instant validation, you will beat 95% of people. Not by luck, not by chance, but by design. 3 months is all it takes to shift from average to exceptional. Not because the world changes, but because you do. Most people spend their entire lives trying to master money, yet they never realize the truth. Money isn't something you master. It's something that mirrors your mind. You can memorize every financial formula, study every market chart, and still find yourself stuck in the same place. Because wealth is not built by information. It's built by emotional stability. The difference between the rich and the struggling isn't intelligence. It's not education. It's not even opportunity. It's how they think. It's how they respond to uncertainty, how they behave when results dawn to come fast, how they manage fear when everything looks uncertain. Money responds to psychology. The market, your business, your savings, all of them are amplifiers of your mindset. They don't create your habits, they expose them. When someone earns a windfall and loses it a year later, it's not bad luck. It's the mind returning to its natural equilibrium. When someone starts small and compounds patiently over time, it's not luck either. It's the reflection of a disciplined internal world. Let's be honest. Most people approach money emotionally. They buy because they're excited. They sell because they're scared. They invest because someone else said it's the next big thing. They spend because they want to feel something. And every one of those actions is psychological, not logical. The financial world punishes emotion disguised as intelligence. The more emotionally attached you are to an outcome, the less clarity you have about the process. That's why two people can start with the same income and end up worlds apart. One turns every dollar into opportunity, the other turns every dollar into comfort. One sees money as a tool, the other sees it as an escape. The gap between them isn't strategy, it's psychology. Wealth is not about what you know, it's about what you can handle. Can you handle uncertainty? Can you handle boredom? Can you handle delayed gratification while others chase instant pleasure? Can you sit in silence while the world screams about once-in-a-lifetime opportunities? Because if you can, then wealth will eventually flow to you. The market, whether it's stocks, business, or real estate, operates on cycles of fear and greed. Most people are slaves to both. They follow the crowd when prices are rising because it feels safe to be part of the herd. Then they panic when things fall because they can't emotionally tolerate loss. Yet those who win, the top 5 fae, don't operate from emotion. They've trained their minds to observe the chaos, not absorb it. When you realize wealth is psychological, you stop fighting the market and start studying yourself. You begin to understand that your thoughts are trades. Every belief you hold about money, what it means, what it's for, how it's earned, is a position you've taken, and like any position, it can be profitable or costly. Think about how most people are raised around money. They're told to play safe, to save every penny, to avoid risk, to seek security, but in that mindset of security, they unknowingly plant the seed of limitation. They're playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Their fear of losing creates the very outcome they dread, stagnation. Wealth doesn't grow from fear. It grows from faith, guided by structure. It grows from a mindset that embraces uncertainty, one that can take a loss without losing confidence, one that sees setbacks as feedback, not failure. That's the psychology of growth. If you ask most people why they want money, they'll say, for freedom. But look deeper. What they truly want is the emotional feeling that comes with it. Peace, security, significance, control. Money itself is neutral. It doesn't change who you are. It amplifies who you already are. That's why people who chase money without mastering themselves end up more anxious after success than before it. Their outer world expands, but their inner world stays fragile. Wealth creation is not about the size of your income. It's about the size of your self-awareness. The moment you become aware of your patterns, why you spend, why you chase, why you hesitate, you gain leverage over your own psychology. Because when you control your reactions, you control your results. Here's the irony. The same emotions that destroy people financially, fear, greed, ego, impatience, are also the signals that can guide your growth if you learn to read them correctly. Fear shows where you're unprepared. Greed shows where you lack gratitude. Ego shows where you're overconfident. Impatience shows where you don't trust the process. The most successful individuals are not emotionless, they're emotionally aware. They use emotion as data, not direction. Wealth doesn't require you to be fearless. It requires you to act despite fear. You can't eliminate uncertainty, but you can eliminate the illusion that certainty exists. Every investment, every business, every opportunity carries risk. The difference is that the wealthy manage risk internally before they manage it externally. They regulate their emotions before they regulate their portfolio. 3 months may sound too short to transform your financial trajectory, but here's the truth. Change doesn't require time. It requires awareness. The moment you change how you think about money, you change how you behave with it. And behavior compounds faster than capital. If you start today by treating money as a mirror, everything changes. Instead of asking, how do I make more? Start asking, why do I want more? Instead of chasing income, chase understanding. Instead of reacting to price changes, observe your reactions to them. That shift alone separates you from 95% of people. Because most people don't fail financially due to lack of opportunity. They fail because they can't handle the emotional weight of opportunity. They sabotage themselves the moment discomfort appears. They can't sit with the unknown long enough for it to pay off. In truth, wealth is built in silence. It's built in patience. It's built in the uncomfortable moments when your emotions beg you to quit, but your logic reminds you to stay the course. The people who win financially aren't the ones who predict the future perfectly. They're the ones who don't break when the future tests them. You see, the game isn't against the market, it's against yourself. Every time you doubt, overreact, or hesitate, you lose ground. Every time you stay calm, disciplined, and focused, you move ahead. That's the invisible scorecard that determines who rises and who falls. And here's the beautiful part. Once you master the psychology of wealth, the numbers take care of themselves. You stop chasing high returns and start building systems. You stop hoping for luck and start trusting your process. You stop thinking short-term and start aligning your actions with long-term conviction. The reason most people never break through is because they seek control in the wrong place. They try to control the market, the economy, the results. But control doesn't exist out there. It exists in how you respond. The moment you internalize that truth, you become unshakable. If your emotions dictate your actions, the world controls you. But if your awareness dictates your actions, you control the world. That's the real secret. So if you want to beat 95% of people financially in the next 3 months, don't look for a new investment strategy. Look for a new internal strategy. Study your fears. Observe your reactions. Build habits that align with rational thinking. Train yourself to stay objective when others panic. That's the work that pays infinite dividends, because once you build the psychology of wealth, you can lose the money and still rebuild it again. But if you build money without building psychology, you'll lose both. The truth is, numbers don't make you rich. Your ability to manage the emotions behind those numbers does. Financial success is the external expression of internal balance. Wealth doesn't start in your bank account, it starts in your behavior. It grows not through formulas, but through discipline. It multiplies not through intelligence, but through consistency. The mathematical side of wealth gives you the structure. The psychological side gives you the strength to follow it. And that's why no matter how much the world changes, no matter what new technology, market, or currency appears, the core rule will always remain: wealth is a psychological game. The difference between those who move fast and those who stay stuck isn't luck, it's focus. Focus is the silent accelerator of success. It's the force that turns scattered effort into unstoppable momentum. In every financial journey, the greatest edge you can build is not more knowledge or more tools, but the ability to sustain your attention on one clear direction long enough to let results compound. Most people never understand this. They think movement equals progress. They chase opportunity after opportunity, believing that doing more will lead to earning more. They spread their attention across 10 different ventures, 5 ideas, 3 goals, and then wonder why they feel tired and empty. What they don't realize is that energy without direction is noise, not power. Focus turns energy into impact. When you focus, everything accelerates, not because time speeds up, but because distractions slow down. Progress happens in silence, in depth, in repetition. Focus is the ability to stay locked in on one outcome while the world tries to seduce you with alternatives. It's not glamorous, and it's not easy. But that's why it's powerful, because almost no one can sustain it. The truth is, focus requires sacrifice. You can't focus on everything. You can't chase 10 dreams and expect one to dominate. You can't keep switching strategies and expect consistency. Focus demands you to choose, and that choice eliminates comfort. It forces you to say no to good things so you can pursue great things. That's why people avoid it. They'd rather stay busy than committed. Busyness feels productive, but it's a trap, a way to escape the discomfort of doing the same hard thing over and over. Look at any person who has built something great, financially, professionally, or personally, and you'll find someone who has mastered focus. They didn't build their fortune through chaos. They built it through the relentless pursuit of one path until it became effortless. Their acceleration came not from speed, but from precision. Think of wealth as momentum. When you start, it's hard. You push, you struggle, you question if it's even worth it. But if you keep applying energy in the same direction, momentum starts to build. That's where acceleration happens. But if you keep changing directions, switching investments, changing business ideas, doubting your strategy, you reset that momentum every time. Most people never stay consistent long enough to experience acceleration. They're always restarting. Focus is what allows compounding to work, not just financially, but mentally. Every time you focus on one system, one routine, one discipline, your skill compounds. Your understanding deepens. Your confidence grows. But when you scatter your attention, you break that compounding chain. You start over again and again, collecting fragments of effort that never connect into mastery. Here's the psychological trap most people fall into. They confuse interest with progress. They think because they're learning about new opportunities, they're advancing. But in reality, they're feeding curiosity at the expense of mastery. The mind craves novelty. It wants to feel like it's growing. But true growth comes not from novelty, but from depth. Depth is where real value is created. And you can only reach depth through focus. In the financial world, Focus means choosing one framework and living inside it until you master it. It means picking one investment style, one savings plan, one business model, and refining it relentlessly. The amateur jumps from one method to the next, convinced the next system will finally work. The professional knows that every system works when the person using it is consistent enough to extract its full potential. When you focus, you simplify your decisions. Simplicity speeds execution. Execution breeds confidence. Confidence amplifies performance, and performance accelerates results. That's the chain of acceleration, but it all starts with focus. Without focus, you can't execute. Without execution, you can't gain feedback. Without feedback, you can't improve. And without improvement, you can't compound. Most people underestimate how much acceleration is possible once they stop dividing their attention. When you commit fully to one goal for even 90 days, you create more progress than most people do in a year of half-hearted effort. Because when your energy stops leaking into distractions, it begins to build pressure, like water behind a dam. And when that pressure releases in one direction, results explode. But here's what makes focus so hard. It exposes you. When you commit to one goal, you can no longer hide behind excuses. You can't say, I was just trying multiple things. You can't blame lack of time or luck. Focus makes the game simple, but it also makes it real. It demands accountability. It forces you to see exactly where you stand. And that's uncomfortable. That's why most people avoid it. They'd rather stay busy pretending to progress than focused enough to face their own patterns. Financial acceleration requires you to give your full attention to one core strategy. If your goal is to grow investments, then dedicate your mental and emotional energy to understanding that process. If your goal is to build a business, stop comparing your pace to others and dive into perfecting your craft. The moment you stop scattering attention, you stop leaking potential. The irony is, the more you simplify, the faster you grow. The more you subtract, the more powerful your actions become. The greatest performers in any field aren't doing more, they're doing less, but with greater precision. Their focus amplifies their output. They've learned that clarity is a multiplier. Every distraction you eliminate doubles the speed of your results. When you're focused, time feels different. Hours feel shorter because your energy is aligned. Days feel productive because you know what matters. You start measuring progress by execution, not emotion. You stop asking, how long will it take, and start asking, how consistent can I be? That shift in perspective is what turns 3 months into transformation. Focus also brings peace. You stop overthinking because you stop overchoosing. The constant stress of wondering if you're missing out disappears when you're committed. You no longer need to chase opportunities. You create them through depth. The focused mind sees patterns others miss because it's no longer distracted by noise. That's why acceleration feels effortless once it begins. It's not magic, it's mental alignment. But don't confuse focus with obsession. Obsession comes from fear, the fear of losing control. Focus comes from clarity, the understanding that everything valuable requires attention. Focus is not about control, it's about trust. It's trusting the process long enough to let it compound. It's knowing that slow is smooth, and smooth becomes fast. The problem is that most people don't trust the process long enough to reach acceleration. They give up right before the momentum builds. They plant the seed, water it once, and then dig it up to check if it's growing. Focus means resisting that urge. It means believing that effort accumulates even when results are invisible. Because they are. Growth happens beneath the surface long before it shows on the surface. Every person who has built extraordinary wealth knows this feeling. The quiet period where nothing seems to work, where results lag behind effort, where doubt whispers louder than faith. That's the testing ground of focus. If you can stay locked in during that phase, acceleration becomes inevitable. Because once consistency crosses a certain threshold, results begin to multiply, not add. Imagine two people starting at the same time. One changes direction every month, chasing every trend. The other commits to one plan for 3 months straight. In the beginning, the difference is invisible. But by the 3rd month, the focused person's growth curve bends upward while the distracted one remains flat. That's acceleration. The first one didn't work harder, they worked longer in one direction. Focus transforms time into leverage. It multiplies your effort. It aligns your mental, emotional, and physical energy into one current. And when that current flows without interruption, it creates power. That's why the most successful people often appear calm. They're not moving faster, they're moving cleaner. Their energy isn't divided, their path isn't cluttered. They've learned the ultimate truth: clarity beats complexity. You can have all the ambition in the world, but without focus, ambition becomes frustration. You can have all the tools, but without focus, tools become toys. Focus turns potential into performance. It transforms plans into momentum. It's the bridge between knowledge and execution. So how do you develop it? You start by eliminating the noise. Remove what doesn't move you forward. Set one target and build systems around it. Then commit fully. Not until it's uncomfortable, but until it becomes second nature. Every day you show up, every hour you resist distraction, every decision you make in alignment with your goal, those moments accumulate. They compound. They create acceleration. The irony of focus is that it feels slow at first. It feels restrictive. You'll question whether narrowing your attention is the right move. But that's because you're used to the illusion of busyness. You're used to chaos feeling like movement. But once focus takes hold, once your actions align with your purpose, time compresses. You get more done in one day of focus than in a week of distraction. That's the secret 95% of people never realize. They're not losing because they lack opportunity. They're losing because they lack focus. Their energy is scattered across too many what-ifs to ever create what is. But those who learn to focus, who learn to channel every ounce of effort into one path for even 3 months, discover a truth that feels almost unfair. When you focus, results chase you. Because focus is not just about doing one thing, it's about becoming one thing. It's about aligning your identity with your intention so deeply that distraction loses its pull. When that happens, acceleration becomes effortless. In the end, success doesn't come from speed, it comes from alignment. Focus is the alignment of purpose, action, and attention. It's the bridge between where you are and where you could be. And once you master it, you realize that you never needed more time, more money, or more talent. Everyone wants freedom. Freedom from financial pressure, freedom from uncertainty, freedom to live life on their own terms. Yet few realize that freedom doesn't come from avoiding structure, it comes from building it. The mind tells you that freedom is doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But the truth is, that kind of freedom is an illusion. Without discipline, freedom becomes chaos, and chaos always leads back to captivity. Captivity to your emotions, to your habits, to your impulses. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom, it's the foundation of it. Every form of mastery, financial, mental, emotional, or professional, comes from learning to do what's necessary, not just what feels good. The world is full of people chasing shortcuts, looking for hacks, desperate to skip the grind. But discipline is the shortcut. It's the one path that never lies. Because discipline is the habit of aligning your behavior with your goals, even when your emotions beg you to do the opposite. You can't build freedom on inconsistency. You can't build wealth on wishful thinking. You can't build strength by avoiding discomfort. Every result worth achieving demands sacrifice first, and that sacrifice is enforced through discipline. Most people know what they should do. They just can't get themselves to do it consistently. That's not a problem of knowledge. It's a problem of control. The undisciplined person lives as a servant to their impulses, while the disciplined person commands them. If you study anyone who has built real financial independence, you will find the same pattern: structure, consistency, and repetition. These aren't exciting words, but they're the words that build empires. The market rewards those who act systematically, not emotionally. The moment you replace impulsive decisions with disciplined systems, your outcomes stop being random. You stop reacting to the world and start directing it. Discipline is not about restriction, it's about direction. It's not about doing less, it's about doing what matters. Every decision has a cost. And when you're undisciplined, you pay that cost in regret. When you're disciplined, you pay it in effort. The difference is that effort compounds, while regret decays. Look at the people who achieve extraordinary results in a short time. They're not superhuman. They've simply built the habit of consistent execution. They don't wait for motivation to appear. They act from principle, not from mood. That's the essence of discipline, acting based on commitment rather than comfort. Most people wait to feel ready, but discipline means you act whether or not you feel like it. Because if you only act when you're comfortable, you'll never grow beyond your current level. Every act of discipline is an investment in freedom. When you save money instead of spending impulsively, you're buying future options. When you stick to your trading plan instead of chasing emotion, you're buying emotional peace. When you show up daily, even when progress seems invisible, you're buying momentum. The disciplined person understands that the pain of discipline today is the price of freedom tomorrow. There's a reason most people don't reach their goals. They confuse discipline with deprivation. They think it means living rigidly, denying pleasure, or being robotic. But true discipline isn't about punishment. It's about liberation. It's the art of channeling your energy toward what you want most, instead of wasting it on what you want now. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. Because consistency, not intensity, builds results that last. Discipline protects you from yourself. It saves you from emotional sabotage. It stops you from trading long-term peace for short-term pleasure. Without discipline, you'll keep repeating cycles of excitement and disappointment, starting strong, burning out, then starting over again. But with discipline, your actions compound quietly in the background until results become unavoidable. The beauty of discipline is that it's predictable. It doesn't require luck or timing. It only requires commitment. You can't control outcomes, but you can control your actions. And the disciplined mind knows that the right actions, repeated long enough, create outcomes. The impatient mind chases results. The disciplined mind builds systems. That's why the disciplined always end up freer, because they don't depend on luck, emotion, or perfect conditions. They depend on process. Think about it. Every moment you hesitate, every time you break your word to yourself, you weaken trust in your own ability. That's the real cost of being undisciplined. Not the missed opportunity, but the erosion of self-respect. You can't feel confident in a future built on inconsistency. But when you live with discipline, your confidence becomes unshakable. You trust yourself because you've proven that you'll follow through. That's real power. Most people spend their lives chasing freedom through avoidance. They avoid pain, avoid responsibility, avoid structure, but avoidance only deepens bondage. Financial freedom doesn't come from avoiding work, it comes from mastering it. Emotional freedom doesn't come from avoiding failure, it comes from facing it. Every area of freedom is born from discipline in that domain. Discipline is what keeps you steady when results are delayed. Because results will always be delayed. The universe tests every dream with a period of silence. The undisciplined quit during that silence. The disciplined keep moving, knowing that effort compounds invisibly before it shows visibly. That's how exponential growth happens. It's built on invisible discipline that no one sees. If you want to beat 95% of people financially, you don't need more intelligence. You need more consistency. The average person knows enough to win, but executes too little to matter. They read books, attend seminars, and watch motivational videos, but none of that changes their results until it changes their behavior. And behavior only changes through discipline. Discipline transforms ideas into income. It converts vision into structure. It turns goals into habits and habits into character. It's not glamorous, and it's not fun in the beginning, but it's the only path that guarantees freedom in the end. Every other path, impulsiveness, procrastination, distraction, leads back to dependency. Dependency on motivation, on circumstances, on other people's approval. Discipline frees you from all of that. Here's the paradox. The more disciplined your structure, the greater your freedom becomes. When your finances are disciplined, you're free from debt. When your emotions are disciplined, you're free from anxiety. When your habits are disciplined, you're free from inconsistency. Structure doesn't limit you, it liberates you. It creates predictability, and predictability builds peace. Discipline is not about control over others, it's about control over yourself. You can't control the market, but you can control your behavior in it. You can't control time, but you can control how you use it. You can't control how opportunities appear, but you can control how ready you are when they do. Discipline gives you leverage over the only variable that truly matters. You. Freedom without discipline is like a ship without a compass. It moves, but it drifts. It feels exciting at first, but eventually crashes. Discipline gives that ship direction. It's the force that keeps you steady through the waves of emotion and temptation. It's the reason you can hold your ground when everyone else panics. In the financial world, discipline is your greatest weapon. It's not intelligence, it's not timing, it's the ability to follow your system when everyone else abandons theirs. It's the ability to cut losses without hesitation and to let profits run without greed. It's the discipline to stick to your plan when noise fills the air. Every successful investor, trader, and entrepreneur shares this one trait: emotional discipline. Because money amplifies emotion, and without control, it magnifies mistakes. When you build discipline, you become dangerous, not to others, but to mediocrity. You become the kind of person who doesn't need external validation or motivation. You operate from internal conviction. That's what freedom truly is, the ability to act independently of circumstances. And that independence is earned through discipline. You don't have to be the smartest person to win. You just have to be the one who shows up every day, who does the work when no one is watching, who keeps going when the excitement fades. The world rewards those who can sustain effort after enthusiasm disappears. That's the discipline gap, the invisible line that separates the dreamers from the doers, the dabblers from the professionals. The irony of discipline is that it feels restrictive at first, but becomes effortless later. In the beginning, it's hard to wake up early, to save consistently, to study when tired, to follow your plan when results lag. But eventually, discipline becomes your default. You stop forcing yourself. It becomes who you are, and that's when the magic happens. When discipline becomes identity, freedom becomes reality. There's no way around it. You can't skip discipline and expect stability. You can't cheat repetition and expect mastery. Every shortcut that avoids discipline eventually loops back into the long way. But discipline, ironically called the hard way, is the fastest path to everything you want, because it removes the wasted motion of inconsistency. It cuts out the emotional noise. It makes you efficient, predictable, powerful. So if you want freedom, real freedom, the kind that doesn't depend on luck or circumstance, start with discipline. Build it like a muscle. Train it daily. Apply it everywhere. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you reinforce control. Every time you keep your word, you strengthen your foundation. Every time you stay consistent, you speed up success. The people who reach freedom aren't the ones who had the easiest path. They're the ones who built the strongest structure. They earned the right to live freely by living intentionally, because discipline doesn't take your freedom away. It gives it to you. It's not a prison, it's a pathway. It's not a burden, it's the bridge between who you are and who you could become. In the end, discipline isn't punishment, it's power. It's the quiet force that transforms chaos into control, effort into excellence, and dreams into reality. Every person begins their journey with a dream: financial independence, success, mastery, freedom. They see the goal clearly in their mind, the results, the rewards, the lifestyle. But what most people don't realize is that this fixation on the outcome is what keeps them from reaching it. The harder they try to force success, the further it moves away. The truth is, the market, money, and success itself respond to alignment, not desperation. To truly win, you must learn to detach from the outcome and commit to the process. Attachment creates tension. Tension destroys clarity. And when clarity fades, decisions become emotional instead of logical. That's why so many people lose money, time, and energy chasing results. They operate from fear disguised as motivation. They tell themselves they're driven, but they're actually desperate. Their focus isn't on mastery, it's on validation. They want to prove something instead of becoming something. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care so deeply about excellence that you no longer let your emotions dictate your behavior. You show up, you execute, you follow your system, not because you're guaranteed to win, but because that's who you've decided to become. The person committed to the process doesn't need constant results to feel progress. They find peace in repetition, in structure, in doing the work the right way, regardless of immediate reward. In trading, business, or any financial pursuit, attachment is deadly. When you obsess over outcomes, every small fluctuation feels like a threat. Every loss becomes personal. Every delay feels like failure. You start reacting instead of observing, chasing instead of executing. You lose discipline because your emotions take the wheel. The truth is, the market doesn't care about your hopes, your timelines, or your effort. It rewards behavior aligned with probability, not emotion. The more attached you are, the more likely you are to sabotage yourself. Think about it this way. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every morning to see if it's growing. You trust the process. You water it, nurture it, give it time. But most people in finance and life do the opposite. They're constantly checking, adjusting, panicking, and interfering. Their impatience kills their progress. Detachment is understanding that growth is invisible before it's visible. You don't control when results appear. You only control how consistently you show up. When you detach from outcomes, you reclaim power. You stop trying to control what you can't, and you start mastering what you can. That shift transforms everything. You stop overtrading, overanalyzing, overspending, and overthinking. You stop reacting to noise and start responding to truth. You no longer need to win every time because you understand that winning happens over a series of disciplined repetitions, not a single moment of success. Most people operate with conditional effort. They work hard if they see results. They stay consistent if they feel motivated. They commit if things go smoothly. But conditional effort guarantees conditional outcomes. The top performers, the 5% who rise above the rest, operate unconditionally. They commit to their process without emotional negotiation. They do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because it feels rewarding in the moment. This is where mastery begins. Because when you stop chasing results, you stop interrupting your own progress. You give your workspace to breathe, to compound. You stop obsessing over when the reward will come and start asking, how can I improve the process? That's where growth lives, in the repetition of refinement. The market, like life, punishes those who try to control it. You can't control outcomes, but you can control actions. You can control risk, mindset, preparation, and consistency. The moment you shift your focus from what you get to how you perform, the pressure disappears. You become lighter, sharper, calmer. You make better decisions because you're no longer trying to prove something. You're simply doing your job. And ironically, that's when results begin to flow. The moment you stop needing success, you start attracting it. Because detachment creates clarity, and clarity leads to precision. Precision is what separates professionals from amateurs. Professionals don't chase, they execute. They don't need the market to cooperate to feel confident. They trust their system enough to stay objective. Letting go of outcomes doesn't mean letting go of ambition. It means releasing the illusion that you can force timing. The market doesn't bend to your emotions. The world doesn't rearrange itself because you want something badly. Wanting is not enough. Alignment is. Detachment is the art of emotional alignment. It's the discipline of showing up with the same energy whether you're winning or losing. Because the truth is, you can't lose if you don't quit. The undisciplined mind attaches itself to external validation. It wants proof that the effort is working. It wants instant confirmation. But growth doesn't announce itself. It happens quietly, invisibly, beneath the surface. Detachment means trusting that the invisible work will eventually manifest visible results. It's choosing patience over panic, execution over excitement. People who chase outcomes exhaust themselves because they're fighting the natural rhythm of growth. Progress is rarely linear. It's uneven, unpredictable, filled with pauses and pullbacks. When you're attached to results, you interpret every pause as punishment. You lose focus, make emotional choices, and end up restarting again and again. But when you're detached, you understand that plateaus are part of progress. You use them to refine, to rest, to reset your edge. That's how professionals think. Detachment also builds emotional endurance. The ability to stay steady when things don't go your way is the real edge. The market, like life, constantly tests your ability to stay centered under pressure. Every loss, every delay, every unexpected event is a psychological exam. Those who pass are not the ones who avoid pain, but the ones who accept it without collapsing. Detachment isn't coldness, it's composure. It's the maturity to stay calm in chaos because you trust the process more than you fear the outcome. Most people confuse motivation with commitment. Motivation is emotional, it fluctuates. Commitment is behavioral, it remains. The difference lies in detachment. Motivation says, I'll do it until it gets hard. Commitment says, I'll do it until it's done. Detachment allows commitment to thrive because it removes the emotional weight of needing instant gratification. You no longer ask, is it working yet? You just work. Here's a paradox few understand. The more desperate you are to win, the more likely you are to lose. Because desperation blinds you. It makes you force trades, force growth, force timing. You stop flowing with the process and start fighting it. But when you detach, you create space between your emotion and your action. In that space, intelligence lives, wisdom lives, precision lives. The greatest performers in every field, traders, athletes, artists, leaders, share one common trait. They are process-obsessed, not outcome-obsessed. They measure success by how well they executed, not by whether they won. They know that the scoreboard will take care of itself if they stay true to their system. That's why they appear calm under pressure, because they're not chasing victory, they're performing their craft. Detachment doesn't kill ambition. It purifies it. It removes ego from your goals. You stop chasing results to prove your worth, and you start pursuing excellence because it fulfills you. When the reward becomes the work itself, you become unstoppable. You can't be shaken by temporary loss or delayed success because you're no longer defined by outcomes. And here's the deeper truth. When you commit to the process fully, the outcome eventually exceeds your expectations, because the process compounds in ways you can't predict. Every disciplined act builds momentum. Every moment of patience strengthens your base. Every repetition sharpens your edge. You start to move differently, not because circumstances change, but because your psychology evolves. Detachment brings peace, and peace accelerates performance. Anxiety comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. When you let go, you conserve mental energy. That energy turns into clarity. Clarity leads to better decisions. Better decisions lead to better results. That's the real cycle of success. Detaching from the outcome doesn't mean giving up. It means growing up. It means understanding that mastery takes time, that emotion clouds judgment, and that process builds permanence. It's emotional maturity expressed through consistency. It's confidence expressed through patience. The people who win long-term are those who can play the game without needing to win today. They're not impatient for validation because they know every action, every routine, every system they follow is creating the foundation for something greater. That kind of quiet conviction cannot be taught. It's built through discipline, reflection, and experience. Every great transformation follows the same pattern: obsession with the goal, frustration with the delay, surrender to the process, and finally, acceleration. The moment you stop trying to force results, momentum takes over. That's when your skills, habits, and systems begin to work together in harmony. You start attracting opportunities instead of chasing them. You start flowing instead of fighting. So, if you want to separate yourself from 95% of people financially or in any pursuit, learn to detach from the outcome. Let go of the need to control timing. Stop measuring progress by how it feels. Start measuring it by how you behave. Judge yourself not by results, but by consistency. Because consistency compounds, and compounding creates inevitability. The process will test you, frustrate you, and humble you. It will strip away impatience, ego, and illusion. But once you commit to it fully, it will reward you beyond imagination. Because the process doesn't just give you results, it transforms you into the kind of person who can handle them. When you detach from the outcome and commit to the process, you stop chasing freedom and start living it. You stop seeking success and start embodying it. And that's when the world stops resisting you, because you've stopped resisting yourself. Detachment is not weakness, it's mastery. It's the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needs instant proof to trust their path. When you release your grip on the outcome and devote yourself entirely to the process, you move with freedom, precision, and peace. You stop chasing results and start attracting them naturally. True success is born when emotion gives way to execution, when impatience gives way to trust. Commit to your process relentlessly, and the outcome will take care of itself, because excellence never hides from consistency.